G'day guys and welcome, my name's Michael and I am the Dead Aussie Gamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for playing and running tabletop role-playing games. Today's video I wanted to share with you guys one of the worst character deaths I ever experienced at a tabletop game. And honestly, the reason I want to share with it isn't just to sort of, tell you guys about how I died in a horrible way, but I wanted to share with you guys this particular death because I feel like as a player and as a GM, a lot of what I believe nowadays was shaped by this single character's death. And I wanted to hopefully inspire some of you guys with the same story. So, a long time ago when I first started role-playing, I didn't really understand how character building worked, how plots and, backgrounds. I really just played mechanically. Yeah, somebody gave me a character sheet and I just ran with it. But I found myself really getting into the character, getting to know them a lot more, and eventually I built them up into something I was really attached to. The character was a shadow elf named Moromath, who focused on being an assassin. One thing I loved about him was that I built this character to be a stealth specialist. He didn't so much try to kill everyone, he didn't so much try to, just be really powerful, but shy of a demigod, it was almost impossible to find him because he had counter spells and abilities for everything. Tremor sense, life sense, scent, detect good, detect evil, detect everything, And that's kind of what I wanted, and I loved this idea. I loved the fact that even without any effort, as long as I wasn't in direct sunlight, my character would need to create an illusion of himself just to communicate with the other members of the group. He was a really fun and interesting character, and was one of the characters who really got me into the hobby in the first place. Now, we were on an adventure in the Underdark, trying to chase our way towards the city of the Spider Queen. The group was a whole bunch of evil people, and we had all agreed to work with each other for our various reasons. We came across a large chamber where within was this huge giant creature with dark skin, huge fangs, large horns, and a armor that made it look like a freaking giant soldier. This creature was a Nightwalker. Now, for those of you who don't know what Nightwalkers are, they are these immense creatures from the world of shadows that have the ability to destroy objects with a simple touch. They are shock troopers. These things are incredibly powerful, and I'd never come across one before in my life. Naturally, playing a stealth character, I decided, okay, cool, I'm going to get really close to it, I'm going to see what I can find out, and then when we want to attack, you guys can attack, and I'll be in an ambush position to sort of surprise them from behind. So the group begins to, sort of work to that effect, and, the leader sort of steps up and he's about to, sort of go in and engage, when all of a sudden, the spellcaster casts Daylight. As a shadow elf, I lost all of my powers and abilities. I was now standing out in the open in front of one of these Nightwalkers, and I had no idea what was happening or what to do. The Nightwalker very quickly turned his attention to me and crushed me, as the particular Nightwalker in question was also hasted, so I took 3 heavy blows that I could not take and was just destroyed utterly. Now, why did this spellcaster do this? Well, turns out that the player who had used this character had read the novels that were, the Forgotten Realm novels involving Lathander and his ability to use daylight to banish the nightmarish Nightwalkers back to the realm they came from. However, that rule doesn't really exist in the role-playing game, so when he did that, all it did was strip me of my powers and got me killed. In that moment, I felt a sense of helplessness, frustration, and just downright misery because of what had happened. It was a metagame move, one that the player had made not in character, but just because they thought that it was clever because of something that they had read. It was something that I had no saving throw against, it was something I had no ability to defend against, and because it was a surprise round, and I don't fault the GM on this, my character would have been incredibly surprised, I got whomped super hard before we even started combat, lost initiative, and then died. It was a moment where I felt like this character's death kind of undermined everything I'd achieved. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh. See, I sneezed myself into shadiness. It was one of those things that undermined everything I had done up until this point. I felt like the character died for nothing. But it got me thinking, it got me wondering, why is it that I felt this way? Why did I feel like like everything had failed? And that was because me as an individual, I always look at scenarios as risk and reward. You take a risk and then you gain a reward. If you perish during that because of the risk, then you wear that, you feel that, and that becomes a part of the character death. And I'd be okay with that. It was because I didn't take the risk. I didn't put myself in that position where, up until that point, it was my character has almost an absolute certainty of being hidden. But when that was taken away, I was given no opportunity to do anything about it. And it was that feeling of helplessness that really sank in. From that moment on, it shaped pretty much every way that I run a character death. I no longer view character death as just a certain consequence of dice rolls or things that happen. For me now, character deaths fall under 3 things that must happen for a character to be permanently killed at my table. The first is it has to be a choice. It has to be because of something that player has done or has instigated. For example, in this case, that player revealed my location. I ended up getting killed for it. In my games, from that point on, it was a case of, no, that would never happen. If you did reveal it, then that person would be surprised that you are down there, and he wouldn't kill you. He would more likely look at the big beaming light and deal with that, and that becomes a consequence of it, but I wouldn't kill a character for it. The second is the death needs to be memorable. It has to be something that seems like it was for some kind of cause. To die out in the roads because you accidentally rolled a natural 1 when you were trying to avoid a tree that was falling, that sucks. That's not a memorable thing. That's not a moment that you're going to sit there and tell other people about. It's damn it, I rolled really crap and I died for it. Those deaths I generally avoid. I'll have people maimed, I'll have people injured, I'll have people struggling for a while because of stuff like that, but I'll never kill characters just based on a bad roll. And the third is I, as a basic requirement, will always conduct a death scene for that individual. No matter how they die, if they die in battle, if they die from the bad skill check, if they die from, just from their own devices, I always give them the time to set the scene for themselves and then allow my other players to react. Because there's nothing worse than when your character is so invested in such an emotional scene and you see that no one else is invested. The only time I've ever seen that really happen, and it's actually not been the other player's faults, is when one particular individual is getting into a deep and insightful role play, but other people they haven't really shown any interest in other people. So naturally, other people have other things to do, and they kind of go, okay, cool, you're doing your thing. We'll pick up our phone. We'll start doing stuff. We'll start checking out character stuff and get ready for the next thing. I've seen people get distracted like that, and you know what? At the end of the day, if you're in an intense moment that doesn't involve the other players, that's okay too. The big thing is that once the character is dead, once they've perished, the reaction afterwards is super important. Getting those players to then go, the character has died. How do you mourn? What do you do? How long does it take for you to get over this character's death? Do you try and go through the stages of grief, or do you try to simply resurrect them? How does your character respond? These are important to not only value the player, but value the character as it had been played for however long it was played at that game. Alright, thank you so much guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, then please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video around, of course, and go visit us on all the different websites in the description below. Come say hi on Discord, give it the Dead Aussie Gamer if you want to get my attention. And, of course, if you have any desire to help support the Dead Aussie Gamer, then head on over to our Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help us keep the lights on and keep making more stuff like this. So thank you very much, guys. Until next time, as always, game hard or die trying. Bye, guys.